Against, that's carried. Now look, we've got 15 minutes before Emma Norrish comes in, so I thought, should we go into PX and do that little update?
Oh,
till
she's
12?
actually here.
Oh, is she?
Yeah.
Oh, kia ora, Emma, I didn't see you hiding up there. Should we do that? Because, I mean, the next two, Phil wants to be here.
Oh, yeah, so we could...
Oh, well, no, we'll just do her and we'll go into
her.
Cranford.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
making a difference.
Yeah.
So, Emma,
Oh, no, we were told the person wasn't here and we've pulled it off the agenda. So, yeah. What? We weren't doing your report, so we were also doing the one around Cranford.
So, however, the advice we've had was to withdraw item 14 because there was no one to really present it. Are you happy to... I'll just get it...
So, yeah. Yes, I like to see you. Yeah, okay, we'll just
carry on. Especially. Oh, that's going above and beyond. Yeah. No, the reason that we were going to postpone it is because
you've done so much work on it. And
So Katie.
Yes.
Yes. So you are here.
Yes.
So thank you.
But you really have to get the Specsavers, mate.
No, because it was you that really want to present this. So thank you for coming in. That's really, really good of you. So far away.
Cool. I did have a presentation. Is that
yes?
Yeah.
Up? Is it able to be put up?
Did you send it through, Katie?
I did. It is on. Oh gosh, it's a bit of a kerfuffle, isn't it? It is in the attachments.
Oh, it's in the attachments.
Yeah.
Okay.
And look, so I've had a couple of questions about what time is lunch. We really don't know today. I'm really sorry. We just things are a bit up in the air, so we'll see where it lands. One. We're going to try for one, but it really depends on how it goes. Okay, far away. Right.
Water under the bridge.
There we go.
Go with the flow. Go with the flow.
Sorry for the kerfuffle, everyone. Anyway, hi, I'm Katie Noakes. I'm the Principal Waterways Ecologist in the Three Waters Unit, and today I'm just going to give an update on our waterway monitoring and research program. Oh yeah, that does work. First of all, why we undertake monitoring. So the main thing is consent compliance. We have, as I'm sure you're aware, the comprehensive stormwater management discharge consent, and under that we have an environmental monitoring program which is quite comprehensive. We also undertake monitoring for a range of council projects and also to be in line with national policies and guidance, and also from requests from mana whenua community and zone committee groups as well. Before I get into the data, the nitty-gritty, I just wanted to pose a little bit of a thinking point. Essentially, is what defines a healthy waterway. So a lot of what I'll talk about and a lot of what we as a council tend to focus on is water quality, but that is only one aspect of making a healthy waterway. So there's things like sediment quality, riparian and in-stream habitat, the animals that live in the waterway, how the community interacts with the waterway, and also the physical form. So these are all things that all come together to make a healthy waterway. And essentially, if they don't all work together, they topple over. Right, so our surface water quality monitoring program, we monitor 51 sites across the city, 44 in the city areas and 6 over on Banks Peninsula. We monitor those sites monthly for over 20 different parameters. Sorry, that's quite hard to see on the screen, but because we have such a comprehensive monitoring program, we have a lot of parameters. We use what's called a water quality index score, which kind of summarises all of the different parameters to give an overall score per site, which we can then create per catchment as well. So overall, Banks Peninsula was the poorest catchment and had a water quality score of poor. The next was the Heathcote and the Horswell, which had a score of fair, and then we had the Avon, Styx and the Otakakino, which had a score of good. Overall, the best catchment was Otakakino, which is in the north of the city, and the best sites were the Avon headwater sites, so the Waimari and the Wairarapa stream. The worst sites overall were Curlet Stream, which is in the Heathcote catchment, and Almas, which is over in Akaroa. If we break it down per contaminant, so these are the main sort of stormwater contaminants, which are copper and zinc, we can see that in the heavily urbanised areas we have higher levels of these contaminants, and the more rural areas in the north of the city are less affected, essentially. It's important to note that a lot of these contaminants come in wet weather events. This monitoring isn't specifically related to wet weather events, it occurs monthly regardless of rainfall. We do have a separate wet weather monitoring program, but it is extremely difficult to capture wet weather events. If we move to E. coli and turbidity, so turbidity follows a relatively, I guess, pattern you can assume. We've got a lot of the higher levels of turbidity around the Heathcote catchment, which is further highlights the importance of the Port Hills erosion protection program. And then if we look at E. coli, it's a bit more random throughout the city. We did some fecal source tracking in the early 2010s, and that showed that avian source was the large source. So my assumption is with the increase of in Canada geese in the city is related to the increase in E. coli levels as well. Just to summarise per catchment, if we start with the Otakakino, which is the top left, that's remained relatively good over time. The main parameter of concern in that catchment is E. coli. If we then move to the Avon, which is top right, overall that's got a fair water quality score and it has been relatively consistent over time. Wairarapa and Waimari are the better sites, and then we've got the lower down sites, so Dudley Creek, Addington Brook and Pages Road, which are the worst in the catchment. The main parameters of concern there are E. coli, dissolved reactive phosphorus and turbidity. If we move to the Heathcote, that's got a fair water quality index score as well. It has fluctuated between poor and fair over time. The main parameters of concern there are the stormwater contaminants, so copper and zinc, as well as phosphorus and turbidity as well. And then the Styx catchment, overall it's been in the good category over time. The best sites are the headwater sites, so close to the spring sources, and the worst sites are within the Kapatahi area, which is a heavily industrial catchment. The contaminants of concern in the Styx catchment are again dissolved reactive phosphorus, E. coli, zinc and turbidity. I haven't shown Banks Peninsula because it's the first year we've been able to conduct any of these trends. They're relatively new sites to the program, or the Horswell, as the majority of the Horswell catchment is within the Selwyn district, so we only have a couple of sites there. But overall it is fair water quality, and the main parameter of concern is copper, zinc and nitrate. So from a compliance lens, overall half of the sites we monitor triggered further investigation under the consent due to not meeting the levels for TSS, copper or zinc. Nottingham Stream and the Horswell catchment and the lower Heathcote sites have been prioritised for further investigation. It's important to continue to focus on our erosion sediment control programs, and it's going to take a whole of community approach to improve water body health, and that is both council organisations but also the community as well. We also undertake aquatic ecology monitoring, and that was done in the Styx catchment in 2023 and the Avon catchment in 2024. Overall, the Styx catchment showed that there was lots of willow dominating the margins, sediment cover in the stream was increasing as well, and the EPT taxa, which are the sensitive bugs that are sensitive to pollution, were reducing in presence over time as well. This just shows the aquatic ecology scores based on the macroinvertebrate community, so the bugs that live in the waterways. They're really good indicators of pollution, as if there's any sort of source of pollution, the sensitive species tend to die off. So this shows that in the heavily urbanised areas you do have reduced waterway health, reduced MCI scores. So even though that paints a relatively depressing picture, if you look at the ECAN's annual data, which is the green dots, it does show that some sites are improving over time. So that's one of the reasons that we're updating our monitoring program to go from 5 yearly to annual. Other monitoring that we undertake include invertebrates and sediment sampling in estuary. That's done annually. We've done some post-construction monitoring of the Cashmere Stream realignment, which was done as part of the big Te Kuru stormwater basin work. Addington Brook, which was mentioned earlier today, we've done some pre- and post-construction monitoring there of stage 1. We've done some monitoring in number 1 drain, which is where those big floating wetlands went in a few years ago. And we're continuing to do monitoring in the Upper Styx catchment. So that's a catchment that's undergoing some rapid land use change, and we really want to focus on getting some more data out there. I did just add some photos of the Addington Brook stage 1 realignment, which but the monitoring is happening this summer season, so I'll have some results soon, but visually it's looking really good. We also have a relatively large fish passage barrier remediation program. The first big one that we ticked off the list was Monavale, which you can see here is now a nice riffle. We've just undertaken some monitoring this summer, so starting this week, looking at what the fish communities are like post remediation of that barrier as well. The next one we want to tackle is the Groins Weir out in the Otakaikino. There are some issues there with ownership, and it's going to take a bit of a collaborative effort with ECAN as well, so we're working with them on ways we can retrofit that weir within, I guess, the realms of our funding. And then we're also addressing a few weirs on Banks Peninsula, so old sort of like water supply weirs, which that's a photo up there, and creating those riffles so that fish can get past them. We've also got a range of research projects that we undertake, one of them being looking at fish populations in our stormwater wetlands. They are designed to capture contaminants, so we do need to be aware that there are some issues when it comes to the fish that live in those wetlands. We've undertaken, recently finished, a review of our waterway maintenance procedures. That report is yet to be finalised, but it's something that's sitting with us for review. We've gone through a process of gathering all the data that we collect to help inform where our restoration priorities should be, and that report is being finalised as well. And then we also have a whole bunch of technical investigations under the stormwater consent, which we're slowly chipping away at too. So that was all I had. It was just a bit of a brief update on our monitoring program. So
That's fantastic, and it's great to see it's annual now instead of 5 yearly. Are you monitoring for nitrates?
Yes, we do.
So I wonder you didn't comment on the Otakaikino, because that was showing increase in nitrates out there.
It is. So surface water monitoring, we undertake, nitrate is relatively low in our surface water monitoring sites.
Yeah.
The highest areas are related to where the springs are coming in, so in the Otakaikino area, but overall they're still relatively low compared to other areas and compared to...
but it's the trend that we need to see.
Yeah, so we haven't looked specifically at nitrate as a trend over time, but it's something that we can do and report back.
I think that would be really helpful for us, because it's a big concern for council.
Yeah.
So we've got a couple of questions. I'm quite keen to move this on though. So Harrison Hunt, and then Councillor Johansson.
Yeah, I've just got a bit of curiosity. I'm digging into the reeds here. But in the corner of James's and my wards, there's a small swimming hole outside Helmore's Lane, the Avon River route, where they have a rope. Are we saying that might not be swimmable in that catchment? Just off Harper Ave.
So the issue on swimmability is related to E. coli.
Yep.
So ECAN do the recreational monitoring, so they monitor the swimming sites weekly, which is a lot more frequently than we do, which is monthly. Based on the data that we have, we don't really have enough to be able to say whether or not certain areas are swimmable or not, because E. coli does change rapidly. We are working on a bit of a trial on using E. coli sensors, so that we can put them out in areas, and that will hopefully give us a little bit of real-time data. It's a bit of a work in progress, because we've got to, I guess, make sure the sensor's accurate and working well, but that's something that we're working on with Smart Cities to help, I guess, address that issue. But yeah, swimmability and recreational monitoring is largely an ECAN thing. This is sort of more related to stormwater contaminants.
And they do more
of your... I see. And when does it launch, the E. coli monitors?
We're hoping to get it set up this month, before Christmas.
But that's probably more the
idea.
key swimming areas, not little pockets of the Avon River where kids want to jump in. And with the number of ducks there, I'd probably say,
it looks like a generational swimming hole.
Well, wear a full body suit.
I'd say
and
just
a
be a
mask.
little bit cautious.
Yeah, no, that's cool.
Councillor Johansson.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, this is really good. It does kind of to me it seems like the thing maybe like a briefing would be really good, because obviously there's a lot of information and data. I was just interested in the ecology monitoring, what you're doing around the Heathcote Apawaho.
So we, at the moment, our EMP monitoring is we do one catchment every 5 years, and that's a full sediment quality, in-stream habitat, riparian habitat, macroinvertebrate fish monitoring, so it's quite comprehensive. But the 5-yearly timescale is a little bit too broad. So next year we're moving to doing these sites annually, so that's things like really quick habitat measures and macroinvertebrate monitoring as well. So that will give a bit more of a picture of what the trends are over time rather than a snapshot in time every 5 years. But we've got the Heathcote is the catchment where we've got the most monitoring sites. Off the top of my head, I think it's about 19 in the catchment, so there's quite a lot of monitoring in that catchment alone. It is up for monitoring if we were following the 5-yearly cycle 2025, so it's at the end of its, it was last done in, what would that be, 2017, 2018?
Yeah.
So
Right.
the monitoring data that we've got is a little bit
Thank
dated
you.
now.
And do you look like, how does your work inform things like consenting for subdivisions, industrial uses, cycleways on the river corridor? Like, what's the value of the work that you do to inform the decisions that get made in terms of land
So you're
use?
looking at cause.
Well, I just note that some of those consents, there have been concerns raised about the impact on ecology, and I'm just trying to understand how
Yeah, so
this
having
work relates
this
to that.
this monitoring data helps us, helps write a picture of what the waterway is like. So when we get those applications, we've got enough data to be like, at this point, that's a really high value site, so we really recommend not doing much there, or the vice versa, that site's relatively degraded, so the works that are going to happen can be done. So it's more about getting as much information as we can, so that when these projects come in, we're well informed to be able to make recommendations. Whether or not those recommendations are followed, I know ecology impacts are one thing that have to be considered on these projects as a whole. In relation to industrial sites, so the monitoring that we do helps us pick priority catchments, and that's where those industrial sites audits are focused on, is those priority areas, so things like Curlitz. There's been a lot of effort put into monitoring the industrial sites on that catchment, so that kind of helps close that loop there. In terms of subdivisions, we normally, the ones where there's waterway realignments, we're very heavily involved in those. And the ones where there's discharges to waterways, that's more of an ECAN issue. So they rely on our data a lot of the time to be able to, I guess, understand what's happening in that waterway. But it's a bit of, we largely focus on the setbacks in Christchurch City Council, and then the Environment Canterbury focus on the waterway channel itself.
Yeah,
That's
I
great,
wonder
thank
if
you.
Maybe, like, this is such good information. Wonder if there's a way that the boards could get briefed on it as well.
Yeah, sorry, I know there's been a lot of info here that have run
For the
through very
community
briefly.
boards,
Yeah, like,
would that be
especially
possible?
because it's more local.
talk to Katie about
Yep.
that. and
That'd be
things,
great.
yep.
Councillor Fields, have you got a quick
Thank you.
question?
Just so I correctly understand where the monitoring was done at Banks Peninsula, so there are 3 sites kind of in a harbour, Cass Bay, Governors Bay, a couple in Akaroa. Have I got that right?
Yeah.
And one more that I can't quite figure out, but
Littleton, Cass Bay, Governors Bay, Balgary, Almas. There is one more somewhere, I can't remember
Yeah.
off the top of my head.
okay. So 2 in Akaroa and 1 in some other location. So where those streams meet the harbour, let's say in Littleton, so where's the testing being done, just so I understand kind of the location?
The Littleton site is over, what's it, by the marina.
Yeah.
Ideally, we'd like to get some monitoring of the stormwater network coming from the town, but it goes through the port, so getting access there is really difficult.
I mean,
and we are
I'd
working
expect
with
that to be
the port.
quite yucky anyway, but like, let's say Cass Bay, where there's been a lot of work done on riparian planting and that sort of stuff, where's the testing, where are you taking
The site
samples
there
from?
is, you know, there's that culvert and there's that little walking bridge.
Yep.
It's right by that walking bridge.
Okay, cool, thank you.
Thank you. Look, just really quickly, Councillor Peterson, that's the end of the questions because we've got
Yep.
people waiting.
Just thinking about in the Hornby ward, where the headwaters for the Heathcote, and we've got a really grotty looking pond in the corner of Kyle Park. Is there any monitoring and testing done in there?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Right. Be really interested to see if there's an opportunity to get
Did you
that.
say Kyle Park? Is that
Yeah,
what you
Kyle
said?
Park.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark, that's helpful. I'd like to move this. I have a seconder for this. Councillor Scandrett, is there any debate? I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Opposed, that's carried. Thanks for coming
Thank you,
in.
and sorry for the confusion.
No, thanks.
That's great. All right, so I'd like to invite Community Board Chair Emma Norrish for the table to speak